It's me, Miss Norris, and in honor of Black History Month, I'd like to share a story about a very famous woman named Aretha Franklin by sharing the story A Voice Named Aretha. A Voice Named Aretha was written in 2020 by Katheryn Russell-Brown and illustrated by Laura Freeman, and it tells this extraordinary true story of Miss Aretha Franklin. If you're ready to hear the story, I'm ready to share it with you. Here we go. A Voice Named Aretha. And inside the front cover, you can see all of her very famous albums and records. And on the title page, we can see a picture of Aretha Franklin singing. And there's more of that to come. Folks came from miles around to hear Reverend C.L. Franklin preach at the New Bethel Baptist Church in Detroit, Michigan. The famous preacher gave soul-stirring sermons that can make you shout, moan, or nod and whisper, "Amen." The Franklins' big brick house was always brimming with people and music. Everybody who was anybody in music and civil rights visited the Franklin home. Ella Fitzgerald, Duke Ellington, Dinah Washington, and Nat King Cole. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a close friend and a regular guest. It was in this house, full of talking, singing, and organizing, that a shy little girl named Aretha Louise Franklin grew up. So she grew up, her father was a preacher and an activist, and if you were a famous singer or an activist, you came to the Franklin home. Aretha and her brothers and sisters loved singing in church, clapping along with the organ, drums, and tambourines. Each young Franklin wanted to shine bright for Daddy. Little Aretha had the biggest voice of all. She sang soulful trills and powerful riffs with a deep, easy feeling well beyond her years. No doubt about it, Aretha was a child star. So everyone wanted to make their parents proud, but Aretha was really something special, a little star. When Mother Barbara and Daddy Franklin's marriage ended, Mother moved back to Buffalo, New York. The children stayed with their father and visited their mother every summer. Quiet Aretha missed her mother dearly, but she enjoyed watching her care for patients at the hospital where she worked. She cherished the nurse's kit Mother gave her. But in 1952, right before Aretha turned 10, something very sad happened. Her mother passed away. Part of Aretha's heart died right along with Mother Barbara. When Aretha's parents got divorced and were not together, and she spent time with Mother and Father, her mother was a nurse and she thought that was amazing. But when Aretha was only 10 years old, her mother passed away, and it really hurt Aretha deep in her soul. Imagine what it would be like to not have your mama. That would be really hard. A few months later, Aretha practiced to sing her first church solo. The week before her performance, she was a bundle of nerves and tears. When the day came, she stood on a chair and belted out, "Jesus, be a fence around me." More than 1,000 people heard Aretha sing that beautiful, uplifting song. At only 10 years old, she figured out a way to draw strength from her sadness. So at just 10 years old, she was singing for thousands of people. Music was Aretha's calling. Singing it and playing it, she spent hours listening to rhythm and blues, gospel and jazz records, letting the words and melodies take her imagination to exciting new places. With her uncanny ear for music, when Aretha heard someone sing a tune or play a song on the piano, she could sing it or play it right back. just like that. 12-year-old Aretha joined the gospel caravan, Daddy Franklin's traveling ministry. Church folks from California to North Carolina marveled at the young girl with the voice of an old soul. Just like her daddy's preaching, Aretha's singing could move people to jump up, sway, and hum along. So, as a young girl, she traveled in a singing caravan and sang across the nation. By age 18, Aretha was ready to share her talent with the world. She moved to the Big Apple where she and Daddy Franklin met Phil Moore, a famous voice coach. After hearing her sing and play the piano, he was an instant fan. "I can't take your money," he told Daddy Franklin. He could see that Aretha already had her own musical style. Before long, Aretha had signed a deal with a top record company. Aretha was a songbird ready to fly. So he took her to a famous singing coach, and he said, "I can't teach her anything. She already has her own style." And she was on her way. She signed a record deal. The 1960s were a turbulent time. By law, whites and blacks were separated in schools, churches, libraries, swimming pools, even graveyards. People wanted change. They marched in the streets demanding jobs, racial equality, and an end to the Vietnam War. Aretha paid close attention to the news. She knew that separate meant unequal and refused to perform for whites-only audiences. Aretha sang only where people of all races could attend. She stayed true to what she learned as a child, that every person deserves fair treatment. So Aretha Franklin was starting to become a famous singer when our country was still so very segregated, and she said, "I'm not going to sing for places where everyone can't come and sing and listen together." Before she went on tour with her band, Aretha was warned that club owners sometimes tricked singers out of their money. No way was she going to let that happen. She demanded payment in cash before the show, and when she went on stage, she always put her handbag where she could see it. Aretha could put on a show and take care of business. So can you imagine? Sometimes people would come and sing and do their job, and then club owners would say, "We're not going to pay you." So Aretha said, "You're going to pay me first, then I'm going to sing, and I'm going to keep an eye on my purse so that no one takes my stuff." She's taking care of business. Although the crowds loved her, Aretha's albums flopped. She had worked too hard to let her talent go to waste. She had to do something big. She got a new band and signed on with a new record company, and finally, a smash hit. "I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You" sold more than 1 million records. A few months later, her sing-along classic "Respect" was released. Then came the icing on the cake when Aretha was crowned the Queen of Soul. At last, she had found her groove. Aretha wasn't afraid of hard work. So even though she made beautiful records, people weren't buying them, and she took matters into her own hands. She got a different band, a different record company, and put out some of the biggest songs of her career, and was named the Queen of Soul. Seeing the Queen of Soul perform was an experience to remember, and in 1987, her lifetime of music was celebrated when she was the first woman voted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In honor of her gospel elders, Mahalia Jackson and Clara Ward, Aretha often wore a fur coat on stage, just like they did. When she strolled out in her floor-length mink, everyone could see that Aretha Franklin had arrived. So she looked at her musical heroes, and they wore fur coats, so did she, and she would come out and sing with her floor-length mink coat. Aretha kept singing through the sweet spots and the rough patches of her life. She learned that hit songs did not always guarantee love or happiness. Some of the men Aretha fell in love with were good as gold. A few were not so nice. In time, she learned to demand a little respect from everybody. Aretha's music didn't just soothe her pain, it inspired Black people, women, and people of all colors to stand up for justice. Whenever she performed, Aretha left the crowd with a soulful memory. So she really made it, she really inspired a lot of people, and she really fought for the rights of everybody. And her performances moved your soul. Aretha used her voice as a helping hand. When opera singer Luciano Pavarotti got sick before a performance, Aretha put her music skills to work. She had 20 minutes to learn Nessun Dorma before going on stage. TV audiences around the globe saw her masterful performance. She sang in English and in Italian. Since high school, Aretha donated money to people and businesses in Detroit. She also performed in lots of concerts to raise money for civil rights groups. Aretha used her voice to make people feel good and to make the world a better place. Aretha's voice had magic tucked inside, and that magic could work a spell. Sometimes the spell brings people to tears, even the President of the United States. Each one of her songs is like a sermon, like a story and a lesson, seasoned with life wisdom, hard work, and always lots of soul. They remind us of the greatest joy or the deepest pain. So her performance was so powerful, it made even President Obama cry. The shy girl who sang with a broken heart set her sights high and became a confident singing powerhouse. Aretha believed in her gift and dared us to believe in it too. Her songs inspire us to think, love, and respect ourselves and one another. When we hear her sing, we can thank our lucky stars that our ears crossed paths with a voice named Aretha. The end. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the story of Aretha Franklin. I'm going to come up and I'm going to show you a picture of the real life Aretha Franklin when she was younger, and the real life Aretha Franklin as she was older. And that's the end of this story, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed the story of Voice Named Aretha, please hit that thumbs up button at the bottom of the page. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much. Your support really means a lot to me. If you're not a subscriber yet, please click that subscribe button down at the bottom of the page, and don't forget to click the bell so that you're notified when there's new content. Last but certainly not least, a big thank you to the Howie family for loaning me an amazing collection of books that I'm able to share with you, my YouTube fans. I hope to see you all again real soon. Bye-bye.